Okay, live. Doing this without any preloading of everything. Usually I start this Q&A filmmaking news thing a little bit earlier. Now let's try doing it straight away because I have stopped uploading it afterwards. So, welcome to the Q&A. Ask questions in the chat. I'm just gonna get the control room up and run through a couple of news things that I see. Actually, all people just came straight away. This is probably better. Topic of today. I was looking at Cinema 5D, the news, and I was just thinking about what I have thought about for the last week since like the news came out of these things. So we just run through a couple of them. But post your questions in the chat and I will get to them as soon as they make sense, maybe to some of these news items. And also let me know if I should run these news things or if we should look at something else also. So first thing. This was pretty interesting, I thought, and I haven't tried it, so let me know if anybody has tried this. Image to LUT. It's an app that you can take any image from the internet or whatever, and then you can put it in and it can create a LUT. So you can easily have a look straight away. That's something that I've kind of felt, oh, this is perfect, because when you do all the color grading and all that, you do the balancing and all the cleanup, then putting a LUT on makes sense. So if you can bring something from the internet and then just have a quick look applied, that's amazing, right? Has anybody tried it? Let me know, because I'm interested in trying it. I think that this could work really well. It's called Image to LUT. It's just an app. So that was the first thing that I thought about. Let me know what you guys think. Second thing, let me see here. Rental program for like your first Alexa, Ari's new certified pre-owned program. So this is like, it's not a rental program, it's actually refurbished Aris that you can buy for, less price. Makes total sense to me, because still people are still using like the first variations of the Aris and they kick ass still. And it's a bit similar to the Reds. A lot of people use the red ones for a while. I don't know how this is gonna turn out like pricing wise, but it seems like an amazing thing. Yeah, let me just write Image to LUT in the chat. Somebody asked. Yeah, so this ARI program, it makes total sense to me because I think the base ISO is like 800. Even with today's standards, like if you compare it to the URSA, that's, good enough for most cinematic stuff. I'm really amazed with this whole thing. I think that would be something that I would be interested in if the price is right. Let me see what people are writing in the chat. Yeah, today without a timer. I'm trying it. It seems like people are coming in now straight away, so it makes sense. Because before it's been like, slower than now with the comments. So this probably makes sense to do it straight away. And previously I also had troubles with the internet. Now that's fine, so that's fixed, so it makes sense to just do it. Yeah, so let me see. How long does it take to make each video documentary for initial idea to the final product? That totally depends. It can be like, I've got certain documentaries that I've had for like 10 years just laying. Maybe they never get made. Other docs can be something that's ordered by TV, for instance, and then it has to be done in like 6 months or something like that. And it can vary a lot, but I think 6 months is probably the shortest type of doc that you would do for TV, because TV has a little bit longer time periods. But I mean, in terms of shooting it, a film would take maybe a month to shoot if it's a feature film. And then on top of that, and that's not, it doesn't take a month all the time to shoot it, but the process is definitely a month for you to kind of process and be in the project. But that could also be like 3 years. So it varies on like access, what type of project it is, all these things. It's hard to say what a typical one is, but I think for me, 3 to 5 years, I think, is probably a normal like time frame when you do independent docs. Okay, so next thing after the RE was what? Small HD wireless monitors. This makes total sense to me. I have the Teradek encoder for this. And I mean, it's good for what it is when you have Ethernet, but it doesn't really, I don't like it when it's wireless. And that has to do with like the Swedish providers for 4G isn't good, or they're not really working as they should. So I'm having troubles with it for that. And the new Small HD wireless monitor has the Bolt TX, which is a Teradek thing, built in. So it looks like the perfect wireless solution to me. And it's expensive, but if you're serious, then this can be a really good thing to rent if you're on location, for instance. And you want to have, it could be anything. It could be to focus, but it could definitely be for a client monitor. This one is smaller, so the wireless system that you have, the Focus Bolt TX, for instance, that's a small one that's portable, so it maybe doesn't make sense for a client to use that one. But the whole Teradek system makes total sense if you want to send wireless signals to maybe a room where the client is, so that you don't have to have them on set telling you, stressing you, all those things. That's what we try to avoid. We try to put them in a different place. Maybe the people that we're filming don't even know that they're there, just to make them comfortable with seeing everything. That's what happens when you have these bigger budgets. The clients will want to be there. You will have to take care of them. Like Andre's role when we do commercials like that is to pretty much only take care of the client, and then the rest of the production runs smoothly through other people, and that's a necessity. And having screens that are available wirelessly is amazing when you do docs. Otherwise you can just wire the thing with SDI or something like that. Okay, let me take another question in between these news items. I was there in one of your previous Q&As. Now I'm confused, Jonny. You told me to work for what I want, and I started, but now all odds are against me. My parents don't agree with my choice, and my relatives too. That's the way life is. My dad did not believe in what I did until pretty damn recently. He did not like me pushing my brother out of school, dropping out of school, coming to work with me. He talked about that every time we met for at least 2 years. He stressed me about what I did for at least, 10 years. So if you just have this now, you need to go through that. If you believe in what you do, you should just do that. Focus on that and ignore other people. If you feel it's too stressful, then you probably don't want to do it as much as other people that really want to do it. So you need to think about like the competition. I've worked with a lot of people, or for instance, I've studied with a lot of people that doesn't at all have the same passion for filmmaking as I do. And all of them. I don't even know if one person that I studied with continued filmmaking. I don't think so. All of them quit. That's how rare it is that people push through and actually make it their living. And that's the way it is. If you don't have the passion for it, if you question yourself already, then maybe it's not something that you should pursue as a living, because it takes a while before you kind of establish yourself. I'm still struggling to get commercial jobs on the level that I want them to be. And that's just the way it is. If you believe in what you do, then you continue doing that until I've gone bankrupt like 2 times. It's it isn't that easy, and it's not a paved road that you can just take and then you succeed. You need to fight for it. Hopefully that doesn't sound like it's impossible, because it's not. It just takes a lot of passion and you wanting to do it. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, loading slow as. Oops. Yeah, this is something that's seriously interesting to me. This is so freaking interesting. I was just looking at this straight away as I saw it. So, for the Macs, all you Mac people out there, running DaVinci Resolve can be a pain in the ass if you run the MacBook Pros and you struggle with both the RAM and the GPU. But now there's an update in High Sierra, I guess, I'm not sure, but in the MacBook Pros that will probably make it possible for you to use eGPUs, so an external GPU, graphics processor, or like a graphics card. So you get a box outside that runs Thunderbolt 3. To me, that's perfect. That's what I want. I want a portable solution. This is not my editing station or anything, but I want something that's portable that I can just plug in and have as a stationary computer. And I run fine on the Resolve system on the newest MacBook Pros, but the older ones not so much. But the GPU struggles when you have high resolution material, when you have like 4K, or when you have RAW, or all those things. It struggles on like any computer. Having a GPU that can do that processing will save you a lot of that frustration. So they are updating, I guess, support for an eGPU, which to me seems like a perfect solution because of the Thunderbolt 3 speed. So you would plug that in, and then you would have an external graphics card that makes it smooth to run. The render times will be so much shorter. And I don't think the RAM is the big thing or the bottleneck in the MacBook Pros. I think it's a GPU. That's the biggest thing. 16 gigabytes in RAM should be fine. I would love 32 or something, but you get what you get with Macs. Okay, let me see what we have here in the chat. How do you render a master file from DaVinci Resolve? I always, this is from experience. You can create a preset with different output destinations. So what I do is usually I create one for H.264 and one for ProRes 444. And that's because I archive it in ProRes 444, and that one you can convert to anything and you will still have all the quality and all that. But you also should do a clean version, so you can go back. A program might not work, anything can happen, but you at least have a clean version that you can fix whatever it is, if it's graphics, whatever, translations, all those things, subtitling. I want to have that, a clean version, a master version in ProRes and a master version in H.264, and you can create presets for that in Resolve, and just have 2 different outputs, and it will be streamlined and everything will be done in the same batch or the same render. That's what I like to do. Otherwise I just do, I have presets for each, so I can pick if I just want to have that. What's missing in Resolve is an auto upload to YouTube, so please add that, Blackmagic. That would be great if you could. What advice would you have for young aspiring filmmakers? Make the stuff that you believe in, make the stuff that you think is unique, make stuff that's personal. The only way to kind of stand out in any line of work that's creative is by doing stuff that is personal. So if you can do that and you can find your style while you do that, like look at Casey. He has a unique style that has been consistent since, ages. He's had that style before vlogging was a thing. And then everybody copies that as a vlog. But that's what you need to find. You need to find something that is uniquely you and personal to how you see the world. And then that will hopefully be something that other people can match to things. So for me, it's like, okay, so I get documentary advertising gigs because I can kind of package their brand in a trustworthy situation where you have real people being like their ambassadors or whatever it is. So you need to find that and show that, because nobody can see that from like a CV or even a show reel. You need to create those projects that show what you can do and are capable of. That's the best thing you can do. And it still is. Like on whatever level you're at, it's the same. It's the same for me, it's the same for Spielberg. Maybe not Spielberg, but for me at least. It's amazing. I use it when I test some LUT in big LUT website. It makes me want to buy those LUTs. What is that? Okay, I don't understand that. If it's a question or if it's a comment. I think it's a comment. For interviews, do you write a set of questions before shoot? Not always. Sometimes I like when I can, I like to not write the questions before I shoot. I like to shoot for a day or something like that to get a feel for the person and to create a meeting with the person, like while you shoot, to have some kind of context to the questions, so you have something to kind of touch upon. And that's also something that I discover as I shoot. I talk to people, get to know them, and then I will kind of see, okay, I can ask those questions to develop that further, and then that comes naturally in the interview. So usually I don't want to decide what the questions are. Sometimes you have to because of time or whatever, but for instance, if I pitch something to a client or an agency, then I usually have to make up the questions, like the general questions. But then that can change. But it can be like, okay, this is the essence of what I want them to say, and then I need to write that, because otherwise they don't believe in what you're trying to tell, basically. Okay. Do you have any new projects coming up? Without telling too much of the projects you take on, any co-productions? Maybe co-productions. I'm not sure how that's going. We had a question about that recently for Andre. I think we're at a stage where we need to see more before we can kind of decide on things. We're doing a feature film that we're going to Canada to shoot really soon in June. So that's something that we're planning right now. And that's like our big next project. So that's a bit slow. But we're also doing web series and that sort of thing all the time. So ongoing process discovering what that is. But we have a series coming up that's more of a travel series. So we'll see what that will be. But that's going to be on the channel. And the feature film will also be on the channel, but more as a behind the scenes documentary, much like the vlog in the beginning of this whole channel. It will kind of show from the beginning of trying to make my next doc until wherever we end up with the whole thing. So we don't know, you don't know where it's going to be, but it's going to be about filmmaking, and it's going to be behind the scenes footage mixed with hair, mixed with like cinematic stuff. But I've had a behind the scenes photographer or filmmaker on all shoots so far, or not all, but not the first one. But all the other shoots, we've realized that we need to have somebody that can shoot. So we get that coverage. Okay, let me see. Okay, this is something that I've been wondering about. And this is just because so many people have supported this. And I feel like it's not something that I would use. What do you guys think about the Narbox 2.0? Anybody knows what it is? it's this backup device that you just like, plug and play, put your card in, it copies the stuff. I've had these kind of hard drives before. I've had the hyperdrive. There was like different versions of that one, and they always seemed to struggle with the formats. So they couldn't handle RAW. That was just nope. ProRes, I think they could handle, but probably not 10-bit and that sort of thing. So does anybody know about the NAR box? Does it actually handle those formats, or is it just somebody that's shooting like H.264? Because that's what I feel it is, and then it doesn't make sense. If it does support RAW as Cinema DNG RAW, not RAW images, because they say that they support that, but Cinema DNG and all that. If it does support that, then it's an amazing device. So, what do you guys think? Is it good, bad? The whole thing that is just like foolproof, it's super rugged, I feel is amazing. The other stuff that I had was not that, so we'll see. It's SSD, so it can't be that big, which is not so good. But other than that, it seems like this is exactly what you want. You don't want to carry around a computer on set if you don't have to. And I like that whole aspect of just like plugging it in and copying it. Yeah. Hello, Poland. Does a boring film can a boring film be entertaining? I know it sounds weird, but I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Can it? Trick question. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Pass on that one. Okay, so let's see. Just help me, Jonny. Even God is against me. Now I'm really depressed because I had a chance to work as an assistant of DOP for a movie and all this happened. Should I give up all this or I don't know what to do. Just give up my dreams or live normally or pursue my dreams. This is the aspect that I think every struggling artist has to fight with. Like with hindsight, I can just say that I think the best way to probably succeed in any creative profession, the best way to do it is to have a safety net. There's this book called Originals, I think, that talks about originality being something that can... okay, so originality is rarely something that is like universal to one person. So for instance, if you have a person like Jonas Åkerlund who did music videos and was like massive, he did all the Madonna things and all that. So he was a genius in terms of music videos. Still is, but I don't know if he does that much anymore. He probably does though. But I'm not into music videos. But anyway, he's also tried to make feature films. It does not land well to me. It doesn't in any way like impress me. It's not something that I think he handles as well. And the book talks about this as most people have one thing that they are unique and like they have originality in one aspect of life. They might have it in advertising, they might have it in feature films, but you rarely have it in two places. So you can rarely be like innovative in advertising and be an amazing director. Maybe you can, but usually no. The reason for that is that, for instance, I can just talk from myself. Like, I need a safety net. Everybody needs that. Everybody needs like a certain amount of money coming in. If you don't have that, you will start to doubt yourself like you're doing, and you will start to question what you're doing. if you don't have that safety net, whatever that is, it's going to be different for different people. If you have a family like I do, it's something different than if you're 18 and you're just living at home with your parents. Totally different situations. And depending on what your demands are for that, like quality of life, how much can you struggle, like can you live out of a van for 2 years in order to get your career going, or like do you have to live at home, or do you have an apartment, or do you have a mansion? I don't know. But whatever that line is, that's something that you need to sustain in order for you to be free with the other stuff that you do. So if you're gonna find some form of originality, you probably have to find a way to sustain yourself. And that probably is not the profession that you're trying to be unique in. Probably isn't. That's just the way it is for most people. Like, I don't make any money off of my docs. It's impossible for me to do that because I'm not the right salesperson. I don't have the right level yet to actually sustain myself doing just that. I have to make commercials as well. And I'm fine with that, but I wasn't when I was like 20. Then I thought that that was a bad thing. Now with hindsight, I know that you need to have that in order for you to be free and do what you want to do. Because nobody will let you do what you want to do and realize your dreams. Why should they? You are the only one that can kind of realize your dreams, trust in them to be unique and all those things. And if you can't sustain yourself while you do those things that nobody else believes in, then they will fall and you will have to find something else to do. So the first thing you need to do is probably think about things as two parallel situations. Okay, you need to sustain yourself. What type of money do you need to get every month? Do you need to have an extra job? Like I had an extra job for a long time, and then I did just documentaries on the side. That's when I did TV. Like my first doc was made like that. I worked in TV and I also did advertising, like client work on the side, but I also had an extra job on the side. So I did a lot of stuff. I worked in television to get sustained for a couple of years, and then I went on to do like more commercials, just because that was easier and less work for me. But I mean, I've been doing this for like 12, 13, 14 years. If you don't even have the passion, that you're starting to question yourself and are moving away from it while having done it for like a month or so, I hate to say it, but probably you don't have it. Like you don't have enough passion for doing this. And then probably the best way that you can find that, or find enough confidence to want to do that, is to have a second type of strategy, like having a second job or having a safety net that can make you go out and make stuff. Like we do this channel, maybe, I don't know how much time it can take, like for the whole past year, we just did it in the weekends. We had that strategy because we wanted to build this channel and we want to have it long term, but we know that, okay, we need to do it like step by step. We can't just throw away everything we do and then just focus on the channel. That would be like ridiculous. It's not going to happen. There's no money in it in that sense. So if you want to do it, find a way to sustain that. Whatever you want to do, if it's short films or whatever you want to do, make one a year. That's better than not making any film. And then have a long-term plan. Don't think that everything will happen overnight. That's just naive. Hope that helps. So after I make my film, why we should not put it in YouTube and show them in film festivals only. The big problem with film festivals, or the problem with the industry right now, is that all the launching strategies are dependent on the film festivals. So, for instance, if you want to have something sell, film festivals are really, really important because they look at that. And like this industry works around the film festivals. Just because they know it. They know how to launch a film there. There's not... anybody questioning like how is this going to be done. If you do it on the internet, you need to convince people that this is a better way of doing it. And I don't think we can do it right now. Like, we can't launch it better than Netflix can. But I believe that we can in like maybe 5 years, something like that. Then I definitely think that we have a better platform because we have a core audience. But you have to build that in order for that to make sense. And you have to put a strategy together to kind of build that whole concept, whatever that is. But if I was like at McKinnon's or at Casey's even level, I would be done with all the broadcasters and everything. I wouldn't do any of that. I would just use that platform to make films. There's like no way I would kind of be a slave under a Netflix or anything. If I'm at that level in terms of having an audience, it doesn't make sense. But if you're at my level, then you have to kind of look at those until you get to that level. That's how I see it, and I think that in terms of viewers, internet will win every time. But in terms of money coming in and that sort of thing, festivals will win every time, just because it's where the industry is at, and yeah, they understand that. Speaking of wireless screens, I discovered Field Monitor app on my iPhone and iPad for Sony and Lumix cameras. What is it? Oh, Field Monitor app. Is it better than the GH5 app? Probably is. Let me check that out. Because that app that they have is not the best. Unfortunately, it should be much better, but it's so clumsy, I feel. Let me see. Field Monitor. Especially the screen is like... Yeah, it's really bad. Okay, so here you seems to be able to see that. Okay, this looks good. I should try this one, Field Monitor. So check that out if you haven't. If you have a GH5 or a Sony, right? Yeah, Sony and Lumix cameras. Oh, you can set a lot of things. It's much cleaner interface than the other one. It looks a little bit like the Magic Lantern firmware did. Yep. Okay. I was going to go the eGPU route, but instead I ran Resolve on a PC with high specs. How are you liking? Because I've also considered getting a PC, especially a desktop one, to be dedicated for my just my editing system. How are you liking that whole experience? Because I feel like it's worthwhile when you run Resolve easily. It's much cheaper, you can get much better spec, you can get lesser noise because it's not a laptop. Yeah, a lot of things seems to be making sense for me at least. Okay, I can edit videos wherever I have internet access. Yep. Okay, yeah. Can I take a screenshot for my film and successfully scale it up for a large movie poster with nice results? It totally depends on the camera, but usually no. It depends on how you look at it though. Like, how are you looking at the image? How far away are you from it? If you're looking at the big posters, like the ones that are behind, then I think maybe not. But like A3, maybe possible. A4, you can absolutely scale up, I think, with decent results. But it's much more about like how far away are people gonna watch it. So if you're gonna put it in a festival, for instance, most people will watch it like far away, and then it might make sense. But it's much better to shoot BTS type of shots. That's the thing that everybody recommends you to do. That you need to remember to shoot pictures, images, stills on set or whatever, if it's a doc on location, because otherwise you ruin your whole PR or like the media, you have to have press images, all those things to get press. So I think you have to think about shooting the stuff, because it's gonna be really difficult to get like the high end type of things out of it. But sometimes that's, I think, why most posters are looking like they are. Like it's more of a graphic design type of thing, where they've kind of extracted the characters, that type of thing, made some design. That can save you, but having it as a shot, yeah, it's probably gonna be too small. Okay. How can you make money from a film? I mean, if you can't find any TV or even Netflix to buy, or even a film festival. There are a lot of VOD services. So if you do like a genre film or that sort of thing, then that's one way of doing it. But I mean, docs are hard to sell. If you sell it, if you're not from Sweden and you try to sell it to Swedish public broadcaster, you're gonna get like 5K for a feature film. That's nothing. That's all you're getting from the smaller channels. And if you sell to a BBC, you would maybe get 38K or something like that, talking dollars. And that's because it's a bigger region. So the bigger the region, the more money you can get. But you can find all these commissioning editors and the slots for all those TV channels. But then you have the VOD services, like Hulu, for instance. If you have an American story, if you have that market, then that makes sense, because they buy a lot. They compete with like Netflix in the US, but here like Hulu doesn't even exist pretty much. So you need to look at like where the film is made, what opportunities do you have from that. But other than that, I mean, it's really hard selling it. You can get some screening fees when you screen a film, but usually you need to make like a big festival film, like an A festival type of release, to get a lot of screening fees. We don't even get a lot of screening fees for Pearl of Africa. It's hard to make money off docs just because people don't value it much. And that's in terms of like how much time you put into it. Sure, you can make a doc in a shorter time span than like 3 or 5 years. Absolutely, you can. You can make it in a month or so. But usually, when you make films about real life, it's really hard to get any type of deep dramaturgy or story from shooting that short amount of time. You get the natural progressions by shooting for a long period of time. That's why it usually works, even if you're a crappy filmmaker not knowing whatever you're doing. Just by spreading stuff out, having an interesting character, you can probably survive with a good editor, as long as you've shot for a long period of time, and documenting, a certain character that is interesting, because they will have a story within their lives, even if you suck at kind of telling that story. Somebody can find that in the material, and that's why I think it's so hard to make money off of docs, because it's a slow process to make, and because so many films are passion films, people aren't paying what they should for them. We don't see them as something that we need to make money off of, though. We see them much like an artist sees their music today, like a music artist. We see film the same way. So we want to make the films in order for us to be relevant, and for us to build audiences and have something that we then can kind of leverage. That can be an advertising career, it can be sponsorships, but it can also be just making courses, which I think is more of the route that we're going to take, which will be like probably a mix of everything, but hopefully it works more to build it around education for filmmakers and that sort of thing, than to build it around other people, because that's also the place where you're going to end up. If you try to do it towards like advertising, you're still dependent on somebody else. We would like to be self-sufficient in terms of like doing courses, doing all these different type of educational stuff in film and in like creative fields, for that to kind of pay for our development process, because we don't want to apply for development funding because it's so uncertain for anybody at any level. Like the development grants are really uncertain, and even though we got development grant for my new film, it's not sustainable. You can't work from it. It's just like covering the costs of shooting the film, and then you need to like go back, ask for more money. It's not a good system in the end. So we want to move away from that, but it's a slow process. So we're still going to do that until we get to that stage. And hopefully we can have like our films paid, so that everything that comes once it's done is like us getting money back. That's the ideal situation, to kind of cover all the expenses and everything, but don't get a salary, and then get that when you sell it. But you also need to make it on the level that it actually gets into the festivals. Okay. Have you heard of the new Blackmagic? Oh yes, I have. I love it. I actually think, because I was thinking of getting the GH5S, and I think that I've decided that the Pocket 4K is a better choice. I just like, first of all, the editing experience in ProRes, or in, even if they add ProRes RAW or RAW as it is, having, hopefully, I'm not sure if it has ProRes 444. If it has that, then it's amazing, but I'm not certain it has that. But anyway, I think that it makes total sense. I wanted that for the light sensitivity. I want to have that just because of the light sensitivity. I don't care about the stabilization, which is nice to have in a GH5, but I would much rather have a light sensitive camera. And also the audio, crisp, very good, very good, very, very good. That's a big plus for me. And the lenses that I'll use on it is the same as the GH5. So SLR Magic makes great lenses, but I like also the small Panasonic lenses that are super lightweight, and the Olympus ones, the MFT ones, just because they're so light, you can pack them in like your pocket or anything, and just have them with you. Now the camera is a little bit big, and you probably need to have like a loop that's massive, but it still is the type of camera that I like. Yeah. Yes, I'm 17 and living with my parents. I'm unemployed and don't have a college to go to. Thank you for the great advice. This is the second time you helped me out. You're the best. And do remember about the cheap gear for PC and editing videos. Yeah, I'm thinking of that still. It's probably gonna be the Pocket though that I recommend, and you need to find a way to edit for less money. Or the old Pocket is not a bad camera. It's gonna drop a lot in price, so maybe that's what I will recommend. We'll see. But a 10K package is what I'm looking to, like a filmmaker package of 10 to 50, 10K, no, 1K to 1.5K. That's what we're looking at. We will see if we can find some way to put that together. What did you say? I had asked you that. Okay. For editing though, I think that it makes most sense if you want to go on a budget and edit in Resolve, which is free. Buy a PC that can handle it, because they're cheaper. Probably you need to go either like a shitty screen or a smaller screen in order for it to work. And then you will probably need to calibrate to whatever you do. I think that would probably be the cheapest way of doing it, but I need to kind of look at this more in detail. But I think that if you edit on PC with a Resolve free version, and then you have a Pocket Cinema camera with like there's so many cheap, really good lenses. The downside is that like either you go the vintage route, which is totally fine, or you like invest in something that's really good. For instance, I had for the pocket, I always had my SLR Magic 12 millimeter, 0.95 or something f-stop. That was my lens, go-to lens on that camera, just because it was so tiny, and that didn't even have like any taking any micro shakes off it. But I like that setup, and I still use that setup on the GH5 as well. And I think if you can find like one lens to work with, and I worked with a 50mm on the 5D Mark II for years as my only lens when I did docs. So just pick one lens. For me, when you shoot CinemaScope, the place where I like being is between like 24, yeah, like 22, 24, and up to maybe 30. Somewhere there is for me the perfect place to be. And I could just work with one lens that has that. That would be totally fine. And then you move around with people to get the right shots. So like one lens, one pocket cinema camera now that it drops in price, one PC that's cheap but can handle Resolve, and then shoot in ProRes on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, just because then you can get a cheaper laptop, because RAW will be hard to handle. Or if you want to shoot RAW, then you have to convert the stuff to make proxy files. That's what I recommend anyway, to make optimized media of your projects. That's the cheap. Now, just on the fly. I need to think about it though. But that's probably what I would put together for 1K or so. Okay. I think Resolve works great on PC with Windows 10, except there's no ProRes rendering. Oh, that sucks. So then you need to go to the DNX files. I mean, that's fine, but you need to change everything, and you're kind of stuck on PC. It makes sense though that it is like that. Okay. Top tips for corporate PR clients contracts. Not sure if I understand. Do you mean like getting those type of jobs or signing contracts with them? Because I would imagine you could mean both, but I'm guessing that you mean landing the jobs. And then like the corporate and PR people, they're just like any other like agency. When I do agency work, they look so much towards you having a style. I think in a sense that's the same for the corporate and PR clients as well, but they have much lower demands because they don't pay as much. So if you want those types of jobs, I think it's pretty similar to everything else. You need to make the type of projects that they look towards for inspiration, to have to show them what you are capable of, but also like have reference, in a sense, to have like the type of projects that they want to order. They want to see that in what you've done, and then they want to order the same thing but on their new project. That's usually how people think anyway. So if you can like create those projects, whatever that is, whatever the field within like corporate or PR that you're trying to do, you should definitely try to make those projects in order for them to be inspired by them. And I think for any level, like the best way of doing that today at least is probably the Vimeo staff pick way, because most people look for inspiration there. So if you can find any platform that is as essential to their daily lives, going about their work day, then that's where you want to have your passion project, or whatever it is, your project for another client or campaign for an NGO, whatever it can be. Have it be shared or screened in those channels will make a huge impact. Just because they find it themselves and they kind of discover you for themselves, they will kind of feel more passionate about you and finding you. Otherwise, I think you probably need to like list all the people in your area, list all the corporate or PR places that you would like to work, or who you would like to work for. Reach out to them, go and present, but don't stop there. Like one email is nothing. You probably have to do it. Like they get so many emails, you need to be consistent. You need to email, maybe like with a week's. You need to wait a week before you spam them again, otherwise they will get really pissed off. But you need to be pretty consistent with that. And you need to think of the first meeting as nothing. It's just to get an introduction. It's just to you get to know the person that you're meeting. Usually for agencies, you get to meet the, what do you call it in English? But like the bureau producer is what it's called in Sweden. So you meet that person. That's the person that buys the productions, but in the end, it's going to be the creatives that select the creatives that they will work with. Usually that's how it is, at least. So you need to go back in some way. So maybe the second time, and don't expect anything to land on like the first meeting or anything. The second time you go back and maybe you ask for a lunch or something. First time maybe it was just like 15 minutes. You came and you talked about it, they were interested. Just get a feel who's interested. The people that are interested, try to get a lunch a little bit later, and then build on that relationship. And then try to get invited to present to the creatives. Do that, and slowly things will kind of start to happen. But it takes a lot of time, and it's like, it also depends on what you have to show. And you always need to be like updating what you do. So when you have a new project, it makes sense to come back and like, oh, let's have lunch, and then show that or something. Okay. Oh no, I need to go to work and pick up my passport. Go. So you use Ursa, how much gigabyte for a 10-minute raw? I think I don't shoot RAW though. I shoot ProRes 444, and then one CFast card, 128 gigabytes, will fit like 44 minutes, I think. But now I actually shoot in ProRes HQ for this because it's a controlled environment. Otherwise I would shoot, but this is so long, like I can't have that extra material. It's just excess. I don't need it. But I love the camera. Like it's exactly the type of camera that I want. I would love if it was even more light sensitive, but I like to have this big production camera. I want to have small cameras as well, so I use the GH5 as well a lot, but the mix makes total sense because I have the Easy Rig, and then I have the Ursa mounted on the Easy Rig, and that's like, I love it. But that's too big if you want to be in a car, so then you need a smaller camera. So I work a little bit back and forth. I'm editing in a PC, and I want to buy the Blackmagic Pocket 4K and edit ProRes in PC, or is it only Mac? I think it's only in PC or in Mac. I think if you want to render, you can probably use the files, right? But if you want to render, they won't render in ProRes. But I'm not sure if it's like that in the studio version, because it should be some form of licensing thing that would cost money. I'm not sure. Makes sense if that would be the case, but I'm not sure. Maybe somebody else knows that. I think that whole ProRes versus DNX files, both are good formats. So if you use PC, then you should be used to that format. Because if you look at the Avid system, then that's what they use. They don't use ProRes files. And usually when I deliver to TV, a lot of the time that's what they want. They want the DNX files because that's what they use on Avid, and they're so used to using Avid. So it kind of depends on where you're at. Okay, so last news item. Okay, this is also, I have the Aperture 120D light right there. I love the light. There was an update a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know if anybody has tried it yet, but it seems to be much more powerful, which I really like because it's so small. You can really pack that as a spotlight easily, because the 300D, which I would like, is so big though. It's great light, but 300D is something that I would like, but it's very like heavy duty. But it makes total sense to have that one as well. But yeah, anybody that's tried it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm thinking I need to go and eat. Let me just check one more news item. Let's see. What else did I see? Last one. Here we go. This is not so fun though. But first 1 terabyte CF Express memory card. Like, that's so big. What do you guys think about that? Like, having that in such a small memory card, it's insane. 1 terabyte. But I mean, you've had 512 you probably have in the CFast cards, but that's massive to have 1 terabyte. Imagine that. Like, you can have a whole project usually when you do commercials on 1 terabyte. I think it seems to be a good development here in the world. Okay, that's gonna be it for this Q&A. Let me know in the comment section. Yeah, should I do these news, looking through the news? Where should I look for the news? What should I talk about if I should continue doing this? Because now I just do a couple of them just to feel it out. But let me know if you want to shape it some way. Like, what would make sense to you? Okay, see you guys.